Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. I sat motionless, my brain refusing to make sense of the words that had just left Viviana's mouth. After 15 years of marriage, the woman I thought I knew inside and out had dropped a bombshell that shattered my sense of security. Her suggestion hung in the air, suffocating and surreal. She wanted to spend a week sleeping with other men. My thoughts spiraled, unable to find a foothold. How could the woman who had shared my bed, my life, and my dreams even consider such a degrading proposal? "I mean it, Matthew," she said again, her tone unsettlingly steady, as if she were casually discussing a change in our vacation plans. I couldn't bring myself to respond. Fury roared within me, a wild beast clawing to be released, but years of restraint kept it caged. I sat there, paralyzed, desperately clinging to the hope that I had misunderstood her. Maybe she was joking. Maybe this was some bizarre test of my character. But deep down, I knew there was no jest in her words. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate, cold-blooded proposition. The seeds of this moment had been sown days earlier, at a backyard barbecue hosted by our friends Jim and Linda. What had started as a simple, carefree gathering took a turn I could never have anticipated. The evening began innocently enough. The savory aroma of burgers on the grill mingled with the sound of clinking beer bottles and cheerful chatter. As the night wore on and the drinks flowed more freely, someone suggested a game of truth or dare. Normally, I wouldn't participate in such silliness, but I went along for the sake of the group. It all seemed harmless, until Linda turned to her friend Melissa with a sly grin and asked, "So, how's the whole cuckold thing going with you and Kevin?" I almost choked on my drink. Cuckold? Surely I'd misheard. My mind raced as Melissa responded with unnerving nonchalance. "Oh, it's been amazing," she said, her tone light and casual. "Kevin's totally into it, and we've never been closer." I exchanged incredulous glances with a few others, but to my surprise, some of the women nodded in agreement, as if this were a perfectly reasonable topic of conversation. My stomach turned as I glanced at Viviana, expecting her to share my disbelief. But she didn't. Instead, she calmly sipped her wine, her face betraying no trace of shock. Jim leaned toward me, his smirk widening. "What about you, Matthew? Ever thought about something like that?" "Thought about what?" I snapped, already irritated by his insinuation. "Letting Viviana have a little freedom," he said with a chuckle, as if he were revealing some grand secret of happiness. I shook my head vehemently. "Not a chance," I replied, my voice sharp. But the seed had been planted, a tiny, insidious thought that I dismissed too easily. I didn't realize then how quickly it would take root. The proposal. In the days following the barbecue, something shifted between Viviana and me. We shared a week of unexpected passion and intimacy, reminiscent of the early days of our relationship. I thought it was a rekindling of our bond, a sign of a fresh start. But my hopes were dashed when Viviana revealed the true reason behind her newfound intensity. We were sitting together on the couch after dinner when she turned to me with an almost childlike smile. "Matthew, can we talk?" she asked sweetly. "Of course," I replied, still basking in the glow of our recent closeness. "You know I love you, right?" she began, her voice soft and deliberate. "Yes," I said, though a faint sense of unease began to creep in. "I've been thinking," she continued, leaning in slightly, her tone dripping with artificial warmth. "There's something I'd like to try, something that could bring us even closer." A cold weight settled in my stomach. "What are you talking about?" I asked warily. She hesitated for a moment, then spoke with a sweetness that felt almost mocking. "I want to sleep with other men for a week." Her words hit me like a physical blow. It wasn't just shocking. It was an unthinkable betrayal, delivered with a disturbingly casual air. "Absolutely not," I said firmly, my voice shaking with anger. Viviana's lips pursed into a pout, her eyes wide and imploring. "Oh, don't be like that, Matthew. It's not about not loving you. It's about trying something new. This could actually make us stronger." "Stronger?" I snapped. How could letting you sleep with other men possibly help our marriage? It's about trust, she said, her voice softening. And freedom. Don't you trust me? My laugh was bitter. Clearly I shouldn't. No woman who loves her husband would suggest something like this. For a moment, something cold flickered in her eyes. Maybe you're not as open-minded as I thought, she said, her tone cutting, before standing and leaving the room. That night, as I lay awake, fury burned through me. If she thought she could treat me as a fool, she was mistaken. I wasn't about to let her destroy our marriage without a fight. The plan. I spent the next few days crafting a response. I played the role of the supportive husband, feigning interest and asking her to elaborate on her idea. How do you imagine this working? I asked. Have you thought about who you'd consider? Her eyes lit up with excitement, completely oblivious to my true intentions. The first step was reaching out to Jenna, Viviana's closest friend. I knew Jenna had harbored feelings for me for years, even if she'd never acted on them. That was about to change. I arranged a meeting under the guise of seeking advice, painting myself as the wounded husband grappling with an unthinkable betrayal. Jenna hesitated, but her resolve wavered after a few drinks. That night, I crossed a line I never thought I would, ensuring I captured everything on camera, not for sentiment, but for leverage. The showdown. A week later, I told Viviana I had agreed to her idea, but with one condition. We'd share a romantic evening together beforehand. She eagerly agreed, her enthusiasm uncontainable. We dined at an upscale restaurant, laughing and reminiscing as if we were newlyweds. For a fleeting moment, I almost felt the warmth of our early days, but I couldn't forget the betrayal beneath her smile. After dinner, I suggested we spend the night at a luxury hotel. Once we were alone, I pulled out my phone and handed it to her. Her face turned pale as she scrolled through the photos of Jenna and me. What is this? She stammered, her voice trembling. This, I said, my voice icy, is what betrayal looks like. Her tears came fast and heavy. You cheated on me? She whispered, her voice breaking. You wanted freedom, I replied coldly. Now you know what it feels like. Her sobs filled the room, but I felt no sympathy. She had sown the seeds of betrayal, and now she was reaping the bitter harvest. You asked for this, Viviana. Now you'll experience the weight of betrayal from the other side. She tried to defend herself, insisting there was no comparison, but I cut her off. Her protests meant nothing to me now. I had her exactly where I wanted, and I wasn't about to stop. This was just the beginning. The next morning, I handed her divorce papers. Her face revealed her shock, struggling to comprehend the gravity of the situation. Sign them, I commanded, my voice cold and firm, or these photos will be made public. Panic consumed her features. You wouldn't, she murmured, trembling. Try me, I replied, meeting her gaze without flinching. You wanted to play games, Viviana? Now we'll play by my rules. Cornered and defeated, she began to cry. The enormity of her situation crushed her spirit. She'd lost everything, her pride, her illusions, and now her marriage. But I wasn't finished. Before she could fully sign her name on the documents, I snatched them away, tucking them neatly into my briefcase. Her tear-streaked face twisted in despair, but I felt no pity. Mercy had no place here. The man who once fought for our marriage was long gone. That version of me died when she decided to turn me into a pawn in her pursuit of selfish desires. You thought this was a game? I told her, my tone devoid of emotion. But you ignored the most basic truth. Actions have consequences. She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came. I watched her crumble. A strange mixture of satisfaction and disgust filled me as I saw how easily she had destroyed the life we'd built together. Matthew, please, she finally whispered, her voice cracking. We don't have to do this. I made a mistake. I see that now. A mistake? I shot back. Calling it that is an insult to every mistake ever made. You didn't just stumble, Viviana. You planned to dismantle our marriage for some delusional fantasy. You thought I'd sit back while you indulged in other men. Now, faced with the fallout, you want forgiveness? Her head shook as she sobbed. I wasn't thinking clearly. I thought we needed something different. Different? I spat. What we needed was trust, loyalty, and respect. But you threw all of that away for what? A fleeting thrill? A week of gratification? Was it worth it? Her cries filled the room, but my sympathy was dead. All I saw was a woman who had shattered our bond beyond repair. My revenge wasn't limited to ending our relationship. It was calculated, thorough, and designed to leave no room for recovery. Viviana thought tears and apologies could undo the damage, but she had no idea the lengths I'd gone to ensure her downfall. For years, she'd relied on me financially. Since leaving her job 2 years ago to focus on herself, I'd provided everything. Yet she never took the time to understand our finances, assuming divorce would entitle her to half of everything. What she didn't realize was that I'd already taken steps to protect myself. The house, solely mine. The car, in my name. Our savings, locked in trusts she couldn't touch. With the help of a relentless lawyer, I'd ensured she would walk away with nothing. As she sat on the hotel bed, broken and weeping, I delivered the final blow. "Do you even realize what you've done to yourself?" I asked, towering over her. "What do you mean?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You're leaving this marriage with nothing," I stated bluntly. "No house, no car, and not a single cent from our savings." Her face turned ghostly white. "But we're married. I'm entitled to half." I smiled coldly. "You would be if you understood our finances, but everything's under my name. Every single thing." Panic overtook her. "No, that's not possible." "It's already done," I replied. Desperation flashed in her eyes as she stood. "I'll fight this. I'll get a lawyer." "Go ahead," I said indifferently. "Without money, good luck finding one. Even if you do, I'll bury you in legal fees before you see a dime." Her lips quivered as she tried to argue, but I silenced her. "You wanted freedom? Here it is. You're free of me, free of this marriage, and free of everything you once valued." Her knees buckled, and she collapsed back onto the bed, overcome by the weight of her choices. But I wasn't done. Viviana had built her identity on her image, the perfect wife, the accomplished woman who had it all. I dismantled that illusion piece by piece. I compiled a damning video with photos of me and another woman, alongside recordings of Viviana's confessions about wanting other men. I sent it to everyone in our inner circle. Her phone erupted with calls and messages as she sat in shock, reading the fallout. "What have you done?" she whispered. "The truth," I replied. "The truth you were so eager to embrace. Now everyone knows who you really are." Her reputation disintegrated overnight. Friends, family, even casual acquaintances turned their backs on her. I left her in that hotel room, shattered and humiliated. The divorce proceedings concluded swiftly. With no resources to fight, she walked away with nothing. Rumors reached me later. She struggled to find a place to live and eventually settled in a small, dingy apartment. Job offers were scarce, and her once thriving social circle dwindled to a few pitying acquaintances. As for me, I thrived. Free from deceit, I rebuilt my life and rediscovered happiness. I felt no regret for what I'd done. Viviana had made her choices, and she paid the price. The last I heard, she worked a menial job as a receptionist, scraping by with barely enough to survive. She had lost everything she once held dear: the security, the comfort, and the love of a man who had once been willing to give her the world. All for a fleeting moment of indulgence. Now, she was left with nothing. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.